good to meet you.
Good to meet you as well.
Give me a brief overview of who you are. Let us know who you are.
So my name is Sibaie, but since I was, cursed with a long first name, I go by my last name, Sibaie. Everyone knows me as Sibaie here. It's very weird because talking to my dad back home, he calls me Abdulnaf, so I have to switch between each and a. But I'm a computer engineer, and I'm also getting a minor in engineering management, and I'm hoping to continue with an MBA afterwards. And yeah, I'm involved heavily with student governments in terms of residential life, and I work in IT and as an RA as well on campus.
Nice. So first question, campus is known as a depressing mess. What do you think you could add, change, promote, or invest in to improve the standing view of campus?
Yes, you don't have to tell me that. I've lived here for 3 years, so I know. I mean, our campus is well known for its academics. It's like there's very heavily invested into academics and the integrity of our academics. That's why everybody comes here for the degree. So usually people bite their lips and stay here for 4 years just to get that paper at the end. It's like, finally, so I can have a good life afterwards. I believe there's, in terms of student participation and student involvement on campus, we can help with that. We can help with taking the toll away from them. And it's honestly, my view is that it starts from a week. It starts from the first week that the freshmen are here, right? The introduction. When you introduce somebody to your house, you don't go straight into the discussion, right? You introduce them, you show them around, you talk to them, just like you ask me about my name and stuff like that. And I feel like we're missing that. When they first come here, they're like instantly convocation, which is great, but then go do project. It's like, all right, not all of us are engineering. You personally, you're not an engineer either, right? So, and I'm a computer engineer. I was never invested into remote control cars. It was a cool idea, but I didn't really want to do it. I know a lot of my friends didn't want it either, so we didn't just participate in O-Week. So I think that's very poor, because if we have a bad involvement from the start, then they're less likely to be involved later on. I would like to have more fun events, just scavenger hunts, just getting to know your department, going to meet other organizations, having students run events, right? It'd be very nice if we could invite organizations for the first week, the executive. First of all, do a proper training on like what to do, procedures, because I know a lot of people suffer with minor link and a lot of the logistics, But if we can help them, maybe 3-day training, and then for the people who want to, and then these organizations can also have a smaller, what do they call it, like a minorama, right? A smaller minorama for the freshmen, because as a freshman, when I first came here, the first thing I wanted to do is join an organization, but I couldn't until 2-3 weeks until when minorama started. So I mean, that's the first change I would do. There's a lot more later on, like doing more creative events afterwards that don't involve engineering per se or academics, just general de-stress. That would maybe be my answer. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, it did.
Thank you.
So the next question, what led you to deciding to run for president?
This is my monster.
Yes.
No, a lot of things. I first, it wasn't an idea for me, right? I was in student government. I was heavily invested in it. I was a student leader. I ran a lot of events on campus, and I was heavily invested in also leadership, right? So as I worked to evolve campus and help our students, I noticed there were always barriers because the administration doesn't care as much of what you're doing to campus or how many people are you helping. It's more your title, right? You know this, I know this, like titles are a big thing. And I really didn't care much for the titles or the names. I just helped. Even when I left the presidency role from my whole government and became just an RA and work in IT and just do design clubs, I still did student governments in one way or the other by just helping students going into meetings and learning more about campus. But then, in return, a lot of these meetings would go into a dead end. It's like, oh, did you talk to student council? And then I would go to talk to student council. It was like a loop. It was backwards. And then the chief financial officer actually suggested that I run for student body president because I have a lot of ideas, and that the one way to do it would be to lead student council. And that's where my decision came from.
So the next question, what is one thing you want to change during your term?
One thing? My slogan says change starts with us. I don't have one thing that I want to change. There's a lot that I want to change, right? And a lot of people think of changes as like complete change, 100%, take this, throw it in the trash, and do something else. When we say change, it's progression. It's not really like a severe 180, right? Unless it's needed. Like for example, in our academics, I would like to pass a bill to follow equity in the classroom and outside the classroom, which is section integrity and resources integrity. For example, have you taken a bad professor class? You have taken those. We all have taken a course where you've chosen the wrong section because you couldn't fit their schedule, and then that was a bad professor, and now you're suffering for a whole semester, right? So I would love to create a way where it's a check and balance, where that course would have a course coordinator, which we do already. And then each section under this course should follow the same curriculum, the same grading policies, and the same test structure, right? You still allow the professor to teach however way they want to. However, you have the same resources, the same grading policies, the same structure as your peers from another section. Because if we look at it in an equity, standpoint, if I get an A, for example, or you get an A and I get a C, and we're in two different sections, and my section is harder, my transcript won't say this section was harder, right? It will just say this course I got C, you got an A. It creates an inequitable space, and if we value ourselves for our academics, we have to, have a system like this, for example, right? So, this is one of the biggest changes I would do, for example. And I've talked to the dean, already been working on this. I've talked to the dean, he likes the idea. He has an invitation for me with the rest of the chairs to talk about this with the other departments and the other deans of other colleges to discuss how can we do something like this. And this position would help me a lot because then I can coordinate with the vice president of academics, for example, to work more with this, but along a lot of other changes. But I hope that answered your question.
It did. Next question. Cost of tuition has been on the rise. Do you have plans to help slow this rise or help ensure that our money is being used as efficiently as possible?
This is a great question. Do we know where our money is going to? Absolutely not. I've checked the data that UM System has, and our college, our university has the least amount of data. Our data sometimes doesn't cover 2023, 2024, only covers 2022. And it's really worrying when you have SAFB, or Student Activity Fund Board, have more detailed analysis of where our money is going to than our university. I know they do have these, but they just don't publish them. They don't make them public. And it's for reasons. We know what their reasons is, but we have to apply pressure from the students to allow this to be public. That's one of the things I'm running on, transparency and clarity, right? The fifth goal of mine. And transparency and clarity doesn't come only from the students and student leaders, it comes also from the administration. And you said tuition is on the rise. I do agree. I think that our tuition is going to keep increasing until, I don't know if you're familiar with the 2025 peak that is happening, because their enrollment, they expect enrollment to go down afterwards. And we probably will expect a higher tuition afterwards to compensate for the missing enrollments as well. or missing students, and but that needs to be communicated with the students. And I believe things like that, and even the comparisons with other universities. How are we doing with other universities? I'm not talking about other than Missouri, outside of Missouri. I'm talking about inside the UM system compared to other people inside the UM system, right? And you notice that our tuition for our engineering program is the highest section between all the other ones, and we're the only engineering school. Not saying anything, but it's worrying, and they need to answer. If they have a good answer, I'm fine with it. If we have an answer that satisfies us, it's good. But we need transparency. We need clarity in these terms. And other than that, outside of that, what buildings are priority, right? When we do construction and we do things and our tuition is going to them, what are the priorities for us? And especially in the buildings that are for us, like Havener, Innovation Lab, and the library, we pay fees for these buildings, right? So these buildings, in my opinion, we need to pass a bill where any change in these buildings need to be passed by the students, because we directly fund these buildings. Unlike Toomey, for example, is like buildings that were donated. These buildings we directly fund one way or the other. So to me, we need to have the most say in these buildings. I hope that answered your question.
You did. What is your stance on how mental health is treated on campus?
I think I don't know if we started to take it more seriously, but since my freshman year, it's definitely been taken more seriously, and our minor well-being team, department, I don't know what they consider themselves as, have been really helpful, and the people there are really nice. I've worked with them very closely, and they really care for the students, right? However, as a macro level, right, it's easy to create programs to support the fact, support a problem after the fact. We need to find the solution of stopping the people reaching this place, right? Why are people reaching this place? Having programs to support our mental health issues that were developed from the school. I'm not saying the ones you're born with. Ones were developed after you, because of the stress, because of the lack of sleep, because of the poor nutrition that you have in school. We need to try supporting these factors more, and not say, oh, we have a minor well-being team, we have a mental health support team. Yes, that's great, but I want to see what are the cause of these issues, right? If it is the high stress from academics, is it necessary, this high stress? If it is, then we keep it. Okay, are nutrition enough? I don't believe so. I mean, one of the first things I want to do if I get into office is I want to do a study to how much would it cost a student to get their FDA average daily intake, right? How much would it cost? Because financially, financial security and nutrition are one of the main causes for mental health issues. And I come from a third world country, right, where these issues are prominent, right? Nutrition, lack of nutrition, lack of financial safety, and you see more of these cases. And I don't want to see this in a school like this, right, where we pay however much, like $30,000 a year, and we can't support our students. We need to look more into that and actually have data, and not say, my one biggest critique for our student leadership is that, or just students in general, is that we nag. We go and be like, we want this, but we don't have actual data to support it. When you come to administration's table, we need to actually come with data. We need to come with, answers. Be like, hey, this is what the cause is because of these 1, 2, 3, 4. How are you going to help us? So we did 80% of the work. Now 20% of their work is to not more find solution, but more of okay, what do we do? This is the issue now. They don't know what the issue, they didn't know what the issue was, but now they do, okay? That's what to me, I really want to focus on. It's finding the root cause. And I'm saying nutrition, I mean, I suffered from that personally, but I don't know if others do the same, or if that's the most prominent. We need to find them. I hope that answered your question.
What do you think your role as student body president includes?
I don't know how. I mean, the Constitution, I could tell you what constitutionally I actually work on, but to me, how I view it, I really see it as, I even called my dad and told him, I'm very close with my family, so I relate and do a lot of comparisons towards my family. And I really see it as a big brother role, right? I see myself going around asking people what they're really, what they need, or how can I help them, and really finding solutions on the macro level in the governmental state to help these issues, right? I know the current student council and the structure is focused more on organizations and supporting organizations and stuff like that. But that doesn't limit, the outside support that we can help with linking these voices back to the administration. I've always said that I want to be a microphone, I don't want to be a filter, right? Even if you have bad ideas, I'm going to communicate them. And, we'll find out. If they're bad ideas, we're going to document them so we know later, we have an actual documentation of who said it, why is it bad, and what was the reasoning, right? So I don't want to be a person who filters. I want to entertain everything. And a lot of the criticism I get, for example, is that when I first came here, when I was a freshman, it's like, why can't we do this event? Why can't we do this? It's like, Sibaie's crazy. It's like, they always say, Sibaie's crazy. Sibaie has the crazy ideas. But it was so funny because actually the other day I was working in IT, and my boss, I told him that I'm running for student body president, and I showed him my goals. And he was reading it and was like, Sibaie, how are we gonna do them? And not even 4 seconds later, he's like, you know what? I'm not gonna tell you it's impossible, because every time I say that, you actually go and do it. I'll just believe in you. And it was really nice to hear. It's like, even to this day, every time before I go to sleep, when you go through a list of your life, a whole list of your life, I have a lot of negative, but then this one really lightens my heart, because you're doubted your whole life, but then when you can prove that you can actually do something, even to yourself, like your ideas, like these crazy ideas, everyone has crazy ideas. But if you can prove that these happen, you inspire a lot of people, and you create a very creative culture. And that's like what I would love to do. Like, really pump back the heart of campus, really bring back a heart to campus and a culture. It's like, yeah, we're engineers, we're innovative, we're creative. And outside the engineers as well, like the other people, is like, utilize our knowledge and the smart and even the creative students that we have into our campus. That is really what I would love to do.
All right. What is your favorite toothpaste flavor?
Ooh, my favorite toothpaste flavor. You know what? I know it's not loved by everybody. Mint. I don't know. I just like mint. Like, for toothpaste, mint. I don't like drinking water after or drinking anything, of course. Worst thing ever. I've done it a lot as a kid. I think it was forced upon me by my parents, but eventually I had to like it, Raised by Middle Eastern parents, you really, no is not an answer. It's like yes or yes, it's like, there's really no other answer. And my dad always said, mint is for your teeth. So like, even gum, I would eat like mint flavored gums, like bubble gum was like, I was like weekends, like, oh my God, I'm getting a treat today, you know what I mean? But it's like, I would say mint, but just because I grew up having it, and now it's kind of nostalgic. Like, really, it's like when I brush my teeth in the morning, I'm like, I remember my family and stuff like that, especially that I live 2 continents away from them. So I like doing things I used to do back home and keeping kind of like small, silly traditions that we have in the family, like mint toothpaste. I don't think we ever had any other toothpaste. Like, probably like Mint plus plus. Like that would be like damn. Right? But yeah, that would be my answer.
All right. If you were placed in the Wild West, what would you do?
Wow. I don't know, man. I'm from the East. Listen, I don't come from the West. I don't know. I'll probably not be accepted there, but I really don't know. I mean, all my references to the Wild West is from books that I studied when I was in high school. And what I would do, huh? I don't know. I'll probably be like a server for somebody. I'll try to like stick to walls, try to not make them find out that I'm from the East or something. Different 2 continents away. We're talking about Arabian Wild West or East West. East West. What am I saying? Wild East, East West. I don't know. I'll probably like carry a sword around, look cool, and when fight happened, I would run away. So I don't know. I mean, I'm not built for fighting. I've always been the smart kid, sit down, not do it. People fight in front of me, I clap around, and just that's it. Not built for this life.
Yeah. All right, for the last one, what is your favorite building on campus?
My favorite building. The Innovation Lab. The Innovation Lab is really cool. It's coming close, but I have to give it to ECE, you know, my department, my people. Even though every time I walk in, I get flashbacks to a test. That's beside the point, though. That's beside the point. But ECE, because it's my department. If I had to actually pick like one that I love, like just the view and sitting in there, who would I pick? You know, I'll pick a 800 Tim Bradley Way building. You probably don't know this. This is the IT building. This is where my office is. I spend the most time in there. I sit down in my office, I work on stuff, and after hours, I just like do homework in there. And you know, not many people know this building. So whenever I walk in, I feel special because people think like it looks like a haunted building. I'll be honest with you, but whenever I walk in at night, people are looking at me as like, well, is that a thief? Do I need to call the cops here? And outside it says apartments because it used to be an apartment. So a lot of people think nowadays, like somebody asked me earlier in the semester, is that do RAs live there? Because I'm an RA and UC is very close to that building. It's like, do RAs live there? It's like, no, it's just it's an IT building. And then I figured it out. I never like read the apartment sign. I read it. I was like, oh, that makes sense. That's why people think that way. But yeah.
All right. Describe the student body president. Oh wait, we already kind of did that one. Now that I'm hearing it out loud. Okay. What is your long-term objective for this position?
My long-term objective is not only for this position, but it's all for the whole student body. This is something so subtle, it's only with my team, I've mentioned it, but I want to create a 5-year plan. If you've read the MST master plan, there's barely any mentioning of like students and where students want to be, and there's barely any mission to like see, you know, where do students want to be in like 5 years, 3 years, 2 years. Kind of creating a goal for the organizations, and I think it's necessary nowadays, especially like a lot of people think, or not think, like a lot of people believe that COVID killed a lot of organizations, and you know, a lot of our history as well with it, because organizations hold so much history, right? And you know, I want to create a plan to kind of revive the ones that matter, the ones that we need back, and kind of like progress the ones that we have, right? How do we do that though? It's not a 1-year thing. If people who say that they're gonna do everything in their term, or they say, I'm gonna accomplish this, the biggest and the best plans happen when there's a long-term plan, right? Long-term projects, 3 years projects, 5 years projects, and we need to start creating timelines, you know, a start and a finish. And it can't always be, this year a thing happened, the next year we restart. It's like that. It's like I've led organizations, I've seen organizations, it's always like there's a lack of progression, there's lack of transition, because there are no long-term like plans, there's no long-term goals. So whenever I see some of my goals, people say, oh, Sibaie's crazy, it never happened. It might not happen my year, but it might happen next year, it might happen the year after. But if we never start it, it will never be done, right? So there has to be a start. There has to be a starting point, and I'll go back to answering your question, but that's why we kind of went with the slogan "Change starts with us." It doesn't end with us. We are not the solution. We're the start. We're the startup, right? And I don't believe I am solely the solution, or my position is gonna solve all the problems. But I'm gonna open the doors for the people to add, like, dedicate what the problems are, dedicate the priority of these problems, and then start working on them and creating a detailed process. Oh, sorry, my watch. But creating a detailed document of like what our goals are, what is the next year's, which ones did we accomplish, which ones did we not accomplish, and why is very important. Why is very important, because then 5 years down the line, they can look back at these documents and be like, oh, this question has already been asked and it's been answered. We don't need to go over it again, right? So stuff like that. And then for my position, I just want to create a new bar for students, like the whole student body is like, this is possible. Changing administration rules is possible. Changing how our academics is taken is possible. Even taking the integrity of our academics is possible, right? It was so funny because there was somebody that I was talking to, and he was telling me a lot of his ideas, and he was like, what are, student council's powers? What power do they hold? And I had to really think about it. Like, never thought about, what does the student body president have power over in terms of these decisions? And I said, really nothing, really. In terms of like the academic integrity and stuff like that, we don't have a decision. He said, okay, now you're telling the faculty that we are gonna have power. And that was interesting to me. I was like, to me, I believe that the students hold so much power, right? The students as a whole, not one person. Even if your title is student body president, or your title is vice president, or your title is King Kong, it doesn't matter. It's really because we are the customers. If you think about it as a business standpoint, right, from what the administration looks at, we are the customers, and we are the most important part of them. We're the valuable asset. So if we start speaking up, then decisions will start changing. If we don't, nothing will happen. Nothing will ever happen. And creating that new bar is by leading by example. It's like, okay, this could happen. Start working on these issues, right? Taking them seriously, and not just saying, oh, these are crazy ideas, they will never happen. So that's what I would do. That's what I would do.
What is the most important issue facing students at S&T?
One, two. You mentioned at the start, it's like the mental health issues, right? It's the lack of things to do. It's the one-directional oriented school, right? Or I don't think the school is, it's just that it leads you to it, right? It's the students here learn one dimension, right? 1 + 1 is 2. Very structured, very rigorous, very robust. Even talked to higher ups in companies, and they said, we love S&T students for that reason, right? I mean, I looked at him, and I was shocked for a second. I was like, okay, he likes us, but at the same time, he's saying we're robots. So so I didn't know how to take it. I don't want our students to be one-dimensional. And I don't believe our students are one-dimensional. And I don't want us to be seen as one-dimensional, right? Because even if that's what companies like, but that's not what, the employees, reach higher positions, not because they are just follow rigorous rules and just do whatever they're told. They're ones who are creative, innovative, and inspire others. And creativity, I think, is just, I don't know, it's very lacking in the school, personally, I believe. Other than of course, I don't think this is the biggest issue. Right? We mentioned the depression, I just don't want to go over it again. But I think that's one of the things that are not mentioned. It's kind of like, what? Like, we never thought about that. It's like, we're very rigorous on a structure that it leads to a lot of our students being one-dimensional. And of course, for the lack of, things to do outside of school. I mean, school has to be rigorous. That's how you get the degree or whatever. You get the degree integrity. I don't blame that, but I blame the student participation opportunities for our students to succeed in other dimensions, right? Being more creative, more innovative. That's why I think the Comer College, for example, is one of the best colleges or one of the best things that could ever happen to S&T, because even their numbers are way higher than S&T's, right? Their retention rates, their success, their GPA average, everything, right? And how they're even getting speakers to speak here and inspiring other students to be more innovative and more successful. And you notice these donors that donated here are not people who were one-dimensional, who just came to the job and did whatever they were told. No, they were innovative, they inspired other people, they were creative, and they created opportunities, hence why they made as much money they did to donate to the school back. So I think that's one of the things I would love to be part of, a movement to really inspire our students to reach another level.
How will you maintain a positive relationship with the student body?
How would I do that? I am very direct, right? I don't like to sit in a chair and wait for people to reach me, right? I love to seek the truth. All my experience has been directly with the students, right? Even when I was in whole government, when I was a president over a whole government over residential commons, I would always go to people and ask them, what are some of the things that you're suffering, or what are some things that you don't like, or what are some things we're missing, right? And long hours sitting down with random people and talking to them and kind of developing even myself. I came here with barely any knowledge over even the language, the culture, the country I'm in, the city I'm in. I mean, a lot of us maybe we're new to the city, but even the country or the continent even. So it was a learning experience, all of that. And I think I progressed not because I was sitting down and in position of leadership and not doing anything. I was very, involved with the students, down, boots on the ground. I always like to say, if you're a leader, you have to have your boots on the ground. You have to play with them a little bit, right? You can't just tell people to do things that you've never done. You have to go and do it with them. And I love this kind of leadership because it's the kind of leadership that inspired me when I first started, when I saw the presidents of these organizations down there with me and even supportive about my ideas, and they were willing to help with whatever I want to. And that was kind of like, okay, that was the learning experience that I needed to succeed in my experiences in leadership. And I've always loved to have conversations with endless amount of people. I think right now, because the voting and because there's 2 contestants and it's like more bigger stage, I think there's always like the biases, like, oh, my friends are like against the other contestants. I don't like that. I've always told my friends, and this is a message for all the people, whether you're my supporter or whatever, no animosity. I love Martin, he's a close friend. We started in the same organization, and I love the competition. We've always been competitive. You can tell you stories about our competition. It was like, who's the best floor, for example, in our building. We even competed about that, but there's no animosity. There's I love leadership that is or competition that's healthy competition, right? And I think now there's people who are taking sides and stuff like that. like going down and talking to people. People need to be open, just hearing both contestants, that's one. But then talking about inside actually the position, the student body position, it's like directly, you need to be there downstairs. One of my biggest ideas actually is to have a table downstairs in Havener and putting part of our office hours for our executive downstairs in front of the people, talking to people, you know, seeking them. You can't just sit down in the office upstairs and expecting people to come to you for problems. You need to go to people, right? Especially with our culture here at SNT. A lot of people don't care. In general, I mean, you see issues in the streets, for example, you're not gonna go out and report it. And you probably don't know where to report it, right? And similar with the students, right? Would they know? So you need to always be there, always be prominent, always have the messaging, have people behind the messaging, right? Faces behind the messaging. Because if I'm just gonna see a QR code, I'm probably not gonna scan it. But if I have a relationship with you, I'm probably gonna go to you. It's like, hey, Teague, there's an issue with this radio station. I heard static. Would you mind fixing that? And you'd be more than happy to help me, probably. So having faces behind these positions and showing them that we're normal human beings. We're not just sitting in offices and, you know, higher than you. I'm just a normal student at the end of the day, right? I'm gonna work at IT, I'm going to go to classes, I'm gonna see other students, I'm gonna be this normal, but I'm taking more burden to help others. And, you know, I'm honored by that. I'm honored that students hopefully would see that and respect that and, you know, would put me in a position where I can help more and more in the future.
Thank you very much.
Of course. It's a pleasure having this interview with you.